All right, hello and welcome to the cast. So today I wanted to dive a little bit more into the essay. I know in previous episodes we've talked about kind of the other different components of the college application, but today I really wanted to spend some time talking about the essay because the essay is a part of the application that there's a lot of confusion around, there's a lot of stress around, and it remains a very important part of the college application. So I did want to spend some time talking a little bit about that today, where it's going, what the essay looks like, especially now with the arrival of ChatGPT and the availability of services to support you in helping develop your essay and turning it into this amazing work of art. I think that it's important to understand what role the essay serves in the overall application and how you should go about best preparing for it. So to begin with, the college admissions essay originally was designed simply as a way for colleges to get a better sense of your writing abilities. So think of it as a writing sample. They just wanted to know, is the student capable of communicating and expressing themselves in a way that is expected at a top university? So that initially was all it was, because everything else that you're submitting, your grades, and even your English grade, right? There's not necessarily going to be proof there that the writing style or the writing ability and the self-awareness and the expression are going to be at the level that is expected at a university. So initially, that was the point, right? Is we just want to get some proof that the student is capable of writing at a level that we would want. And so since then, it obviously has evolved, right? As college admissions has gotten more competitive, as college admissions has increasingly expanded to be much more international in terms of the types of students that they're looking to attract, the college essay has now become this thing that separates one amazing student from another. I've mentioned this before, and I kind of talk about it all the time, is that the reality is you are, at the end of the day, if you're applying for the very, very top universities and even some of the middle tier universities, you are at the mercy of the college admissions office and what they choose to relate to, what they choose to identify with, because every school is going to have thousands of applications who have just as good of the stats as you do, who have perfect grades, who have amazing test scores. And so they really are looking for all of these other different pieces, these qualitative pieces, such as your extracurriculars, such as your community service, such as your teacher recs, and such as your essay, to really decide what it is that makes a student fit our community the best. And this is why we're going to choose this student above all other students. Okay, so as a brief overview, the current state of the college essay right now is that you will have 650 words, and you will have 7 prompts to choose from. And these prompts range. They can be about something about your background, or it can be about a challenge that you've overcome, or about a subject that you are so fascinated in that you lose sleep over. So it can talk about, there's a range of different things that you can talk about, but it is 650 words. And you have those 650 words to express yourself. And in addition to that, many different colleges will have supplemental essays, other different pieces that they will ask you to write as well. But the main essay is a 650 word piece where you get to share something about yourself, hopefully that isn't included in the rest of your application. So it is an opportunity to share a little bit about who you are, what matters to you, and what you hope to accomplish. And over time, this has gone through many, many different shifts, right? Because again, colleges are looking at the essay now, not just as proof, it's not just can you write, right? Because in addition to other things, right? The TOEFL and the SAT and all these other things exist to kind of show that you are at a certain level of English capability. But now it is less about the writing ability, right? It is much more about who you are, right? Are you able to use the essay to express a personality, express a passion, express a challenge you've overcome that really shows that you are the type of student who will, in addition to obviously getting good grades, is going to do really, really well in our community, is going to contribute positively to our community. And so what colleges have wanted out of this has shifted over time. Back when I was applying for college, the voluntourism essay was very, very popular, because at that when I was applying for college, a lot of colleges, especially the smaller liberal arts colleges, were first opening up to this idea of, oh, we want international students. And so an international student who could not only talk about their international experiences, but talk about, oh, I went to spend 2 to 3 weeks in Cambodia and helped build houses, and I worked with orphans, and from that I realized, oh, I have so much, that I am so privileged. I have so much responsibility, and therefore I must want to give back, right? That whole type of narrative of serving another community internationally was very popular and ended up being the thing that I think helped me get in. I don't think my grades were phenomenal. I think I had really, really good teacher X. And I think that a big part of it was also I chose to write about a topic that I didn't know this at the time, but I chose to write about a topic that seemed to be in demand for many, many universities. Right? Same thing with sports injury, right? I think the idea of of an athlete who has encountered injury and then worked their way back up and gone back on the field and won the championship, all of that, that's a very clear, transparent story of growth and of things that you have overcome. Right? But that was 25 years ago, right? That is no longer the case, right? If you choose to write about those topics now, especially as an international student, you are likely not going to be accepted on the basis of your essay, because those topics are now not only very, very cliche, but they actually aren't what colleges want anymore, right? And it's not that they don't want students who want to volunteer and who want to help, but the type of voluntourism that I did with my school, of taking a trip and spending 2 weeks with orphans and then coming back and realizing that that I have so much that I can give to the world, is very selfish ultimately, right? And it's basically telling them, look, hi, college, my family paid for me to go to a third world country and spend some time with people who are living in incredibly difficult situations. And out of that, I realized how much I have grown, right? Instead of, and here's the real difference that I've made, here's the difference that I want to continue to make, and here's the things that I want to do going forward. And so that has shifted, right? As an example, because what colleges want is they don't necessarily need a student who is going to come and then spend 2 weeks and not really commit to a community, right? What they want is a student who has been able to demonstrate the challenges and the growth that come from really committing to a community, as an example, right? And so when I talk with students about their college essays, a lot of times the students initially, the first few things that they want to talk about are things that no longer are valuable in and of themselves, right? And so voluntourism is one thing, this idea of volunteering abroad and coming back a different person. That's probably not as valuable. And then the idea of an international student, right? A lot of students, especially here in Japan, especially who go to international schools, a lot of them really want to start off by talking about, oh, I'm half Japanese, I'm half American. I don't know, sometimes I don't belong to the fully Japanese group. I don't belong to the fully American group. Where do I belong, right? And again, right, you have now picked a topic that at this point in time, admissions officers, especially admissions officers who only review international regions, they have seen a bajillion of these essays, because every international student, right, every international school student will have struggled with this at some point, right? Identity, right? How they fit in with different cultures because of who they are and their parentage. All of these different sort of things are, there's nothing new or nothing interesting to be said about those, right? And that doesn't mean you can't try to talk about them. But if we're talking about the college essay, colleges really are looking for you to take some time and explore everything that you are a little bit deeper, right? The expectation now for the college essay, especially when things like ChatGPT and other different things exist to help you grammarly, even, right? Different things that can help you polish up your essay. They're not really worried about your writing ability anymore, because that will be covered by AI, that will be covered by autocorrect, that will be covered by a lot of these other things. But what they really are looking for is greater depth. And so it is important to use the essay as a time to really think about more deeply what it is that you want to share about. Okay. And that becomes very difficult if you live a life that is not deep. And so I want to be very honest about this. I think that I work with many different students, and a lot of students come in and they're getting started on their essay, and there really just isn't that much to say, right? They go to school, they work hard, they get good grades, they come home, they study some more, they get good grades, and then they move on. And there's nothing to say there, right? There's nothing new that hasn't been talked about to really discuss there. And so what I would encourage you all to do, if you are watching this or listening to this, is know that you are going to need to write this story, right? You're going to need to tell a story about how you have grown, about how you have changed, about something you care deeply about, right? At the point of application, by the time you are applying, you are going to have to write 650 words that tell me a story of your growth, of your change, of your maturity that must stand out from 50,000 students, right? And so most of your experiences, if you don't take the step to challenge yourself, if you don't take the step to try for something bigger, try for something greater, most of your experiences are going to be exactly the same experiences as everyone else in your school, as everyone else in your school district, as everyone else in your country, right? And when I am looking through 5,000 applications, I'm really looking for the story or the personality or the piece that is different, not that is the same. Okay. I think a lot of students that I work with initially approach the Common App essay as, oh, I just need to answer the question, right? Tell me about a time that you struggled. Okay, well, I'll tell you about a time that I struggled, right? I worked really hard for the test and I didn't get the grade that I want. So I studied harder and eventually I got the grade that I needed. Ta-da, great. I answered the question, correct? It's not just about answering the question, right? The college essay at this point in time is really about answering it in the best way possible. And so that can't really happen if you are living a life that isn't worth writing a story about, okay? And so what I'll encourage students to do is to take risks, right? To follow their passions. If you're interested in something, if you're passionate about something, go do it, go study it, go learn about it, and go fail, right? Because all of these things are going to be the pieces that result in a life that has many stories to pull from, many different things that you can share, many different learnings that you can acquire, right? If you just go through the motions, you are not going to end up with anything that is really worth writing about to begin with, let alone stand out in front of all kinds of university admissions officers. Okay, so that would be the thing, right? Is that if you are listening to this now and you are still younger, or you've listened to it now, even if you are in kind of your 11th grade, your 10th grade, right? Know that you're going to need to tell this story, right? And start thinking about, is my life worth telling a story about? And what can you do to go seek out and find ways to start to build that story? You have full control over this, right? You get to choose your own adventure, and that is an opportunity that not that many people have. And so one of the things that I often encourage students, if they're thinking about how can I make sure that I can write a good essay, on one level, it is to obviously improve your English, improve your writing, right? Read good writing. I think that is important. I think that reading biographies, reading autobiographies, reading how other people find ways to talk about themselves in ways that are interesting is always important and something that is worth doing. But in addition to that is go pursue something that you care deeply about. Is there anything that you care very deeply about? Go find ways to explore that. Is there something you are passionate about? Is there a problem that you want to solve? There is no reason that a high schooler can't start moving in the direction to do these things. Okay? And as you go about doing them, as you start to ask for things and get rejected, as you start to try certain things and those experiments don't work, and as you start to ask for things and get accepted, as you start to try different things and they succeed, all of those experiences are going to result in a richer life that has more things to talk about. I think that the college essay now, especially with the rise of ChatGPT, it is no longer about just telling a funny story or telling a moving story or anything like that. It's actually really focused on the takeaways, right? On what have you learned from this experience? And what are the big takeaways? What is the wisdom that you now have from this experience that you've chosen to talk about? And that can only come if you are trying things, right? That can only come if you are really thinking about the fact that you, in many ways, are the author of your own story from the very beginning, right? I think that a lot of students tend to say no. They are very risk averse. They don't want to try things. They don't want to put themselves out there because failure, we've kind of found a way to frame failure as this very negative thing in society today. And I don't think failure is positive. I think that failure is tough. I think that failure is not great. But I also think that failure has value, and especially if you choose to learn from it. And I think that that is what colleges are looking for a lot now, is they want to see college students who have taken risks, who have tried things, who have messed up, right? But have learned from that, because they'd rather have a student who is comfortable with taking risks and learning from them and growing and moving on than with a student who was never going to try, right? Because that's what college is all about. Colleges want students who are going to make a difference. Colleges want students who are going to break barriers, who are going to do new things, who are going to innovate, who are going to create something that is different, what no one has thought about before. Well, what type of student is going to do that? The student who really wants to, but then doesn't? The student who has a great idea, but then doesn't execute on it because they are afraid of failure? No, they want the student who has tried, maybe has messed up, but has shown continually that they're going to keep trying because they really believe in this thing that they want to solve. They really believe in the value of the thing that they are learning. That's the type of student that colleges want. And so it's a mixture, right? Is that you need to find the story that aligns with what a lot of universities really want right now, but you can't do that, right? If you are not living a life that becomes worth telling about, that becomes worth talking about. So I think at the end of this, my advice overall, right, is that I know there's academics, and your grades, as I mentioned before, your grades are ultimately the most important thing. Please get your grades great, right? That is the start. But your life is an adventure, and it's an adventure that you get to choose, right? You get to choose what you want that adventure to be. And if you want thoughts around how to do that, those will be some things that we'll be talking about here in this space. But you have the ability to decide what you are able to write about when it comes time for the application. So do that, right? Choose adventure, choose risk, choose to do something that no one else has done before, because choose to follow your passions, no matter how silly, right? I had a student who wrote an amazing essay about his love of Pokemon, right? Because he used that he was really able to show the way Pokemon can build a community, the way that he tried to create an online tournament during COVID. And that was a struggle, but it ended up bringing together this huge 500 plus people into community that did not exist, especially during a shutdown. And that was incredibly touching. And he's now in a wonderful university. So there's nothing too silly if you care about it. But if you care about it, do something, right? And as you go through those steps, right, you will eventually get to the point when it comes time to write your college essay, you will actually have something to write about. Okay, so that would be my encouragement. The college essay is trickier than ever. The college essay has more nuance to it than ever. The expectations on what the essay could do are higher than ever. But every single one of you is in a position to write that story, right? But you can't just settle for answering the question. You need to answer the question that is in a way that is most true to you. Answer the question in a way that is as unique as possible. And to do that, you need to go out and actually live your story first. so that you can write about it later. All right. Good luck. Thank you.